before I start my cervical cancer topic, I know most of you people will be, if cervical cancer, you always get worried, what to do, what next to do. So I'm just giving in a brief idea. I'm going through the basic management of cervical cancer, not going to the preventive and screening on those details which you already every time you discuss in your topics and everywhere. So worldwide, the primary cause for cervical cancer is the HPV infection. I am going very fast with the briefing of the basics of cervical cancer. So HPV DNA virus, we know there are so many genotypes. Among that, 12 and 14 are the highest genotype, which causes progression to cancer. And it's a slow growing, and its progression through precancerous stage gives the idea about multiple treatment modalities for cervical cancers. And it is considered, as WHO had mentioned this line, cervical cancer remains one of the gravest threats to the woman's life worldwide. And as I told, 16 and 18 are the most common. And HPV infection is the most common sexually transmitted infection. 80% of the women get this infection in lifetime. So this is the diagram for the primary prevention, secondary prevention, and tertiary prevention. I am not going into details too much details about this, which this automatically you know. Primary prevention, girls 9 to 14 years, HPV vaccinations. Secondary prevention, women more than 30 years of age, screen and treat on the first spot basis. And tertiary prevention for the treatment of the cervical cancer. So these are the same WHO recommendations. I just put the slide. So in India, 1,35,000 new patients in India every got diagnosed with cervical cancer. Incidence varies from 15 to 48. Carcinoma cervix is preventable, as I already told. Health education, screening programs, risk factors. I am not going too much detail. Early age, repeated births, multiple sexual partners, HPV infections, low socioeconomic status, smoking. Site, you know, ectocervix is most common site, followed by endocervix, cross lesions. Most of them are occult, proliferative, you get ulcerative, you get infiltrative lesions. Histopathology. This is very important in cervical cancers. We know CIN 1, 2, 3, dysplasia, then followed by invasive cancers. So these are histopathology is plays a very big role in cervical cancers. Most common is squamous cell carcinoma. It involves large cell keratinizing, large cell non-keratinizing, small cell. Why this histopathology is important? Because the treatment for this malignancy in the advanced stage or locally advanced stage, chemotherapy depends upon the histopathology. So adenocarcinoma, this is all the list. Spread, we know this is direct spread to the vagina, uterus, parametrium. Depending upon this, the staging of the cervical cancer happens. Lymphatics, secondary nodes, hematogenous spread, lungs, liver, and bone. So this is, I think if anyone, this is a very common slide for gynecologist. So no need to go through this. Now diagnosis. This is the most important part in cervical cancer, because many times when the patient comes to us with a histopathology or pap smear or something, they come with UHG and they come directly, the patient is having this. As a gynecologist, you can initially evaluate the patient and do the diagnosis staging for this patient. There is no need to send to the oncologist for staging and diagnosis. You can yourself do all those things. So preclinical, we know most of the time in early stage you can see patients are asymptomatic. On routine pap smear or examination or single spot test, we find this. If the microinvasion is detected on the biopsy, then we know we do conization for this and then take it forward. Clinical stage 1B onwards, really most of the time patients have symptoms like abnormal bleeding, postcoital, intermenstrual, postmenopausal, abnormal discharge, blood stain, dirty, foul smelling, late symptoms like pelvic pain, urinary symptoms, rectal symptoms. Signs, I am not going too much detail into. So this is a very important slide. This is the NCCN 2022. You may be saying now it is 22 yet to come, but the guideline always 3 months before the guideline they put the guideline. So this is this month's guideline, which will be continued for next 3 months. So you see here histopathology, biopsy, pathology review is very important. Many times the referring doctor says why the oncologist again do the repeat histopathologic evaluation, because we have come across many times the histopathology changes. Sometimes they say dysplasia, but later when we do again review of the blocks, we see that it's invasive carcinoma. Because our diagnosis and further treatment depends upon all the histopathology. All other evaluation and testings, and depending upon this, we then stage. So I know all you shout on us for this staging because it's very complicated and difficult staging for cervical cancer, but I will brief it in short for you. Confirmation diagnosis I already told, biopsy, staging, these are the various modalities of imaging modalities. The most important, whenever you find any invasive cancer, carcinoma cervix, you do a pelvic MRI of this patient. And depending upon pelvic MRI finding, then you have to decide whether the patient will take CT or PET CT or all those things. So this is the guideline which I think this is important for you. You can take it. So in early stage disease, you can see pelvic MRI with contrast to assess the local disease extent. It is preferred for stage 1B1 and 1B3 till 1B3. And then the chest scan, PET scan depending upon the staging. So this is very important. Many times I come across as gynecologist, you do a normal ultrasound and CT and send the patient. There is no need to do CT for this patient. If you have, you can directly do MRI. It will give a local extension of the disease and this will help in proper staging of the cervical cancer. So from stage 2 to stage 4, then here our role comes, because here automatically if it is a locally advanced stage, then we have to do for the metastatic workup where we do CT chest, or if the why there is a role of PET scan, many gynecologists call us and tell us there is a need of PET scan or not. See, doing CT chest, abdomen, pelvis, it costs same as doing the PET CT. So it is better to do PET CT in stage 2 to stage 4A patients so that exact idea about the staging we get. So and then these are all the imaging modalities which we do. Then best to follow the FIBO system, which I think you know better. I think you do better. Most of the time we don't do automatically. The fresh patient comes to us with a diagnosis, and if you do staging, it comes directly for the treatment. So this is a difficult slide, and I think every 2 years, 3 years, cervical cancer staging changes. This is a very difficult to remember, but we always try to remember it. But in brief, I will tell you this: you don't have to mug up this one. Just a simple number is 4 centimeters. If it is less than 4 centimeters, patient is yours. If it is less than 4 centimeters without lymph node, patient is yours. I mean to say patient is yours means you can do surgical management for this patient. If it is more than 4 centimeters, automatically you have to think if the lymph nodes are involved and other areas or metastatic setup, then patient we have to send the patient to us to decide for the further treatment plan. You can see here, because in just to tell you 1A, A1, A2, you don't have to mug up this too much. In stage 1, 1B till 1B2, less than 4 centimeters. So this is an ideal candidate for surgery. Surgical, you know, various surgery, extrafacial, radical hysterectomy, lymphadenectomy, that is a separate topic. But less than 4 automatically goes to surgery. So in stage 2A, here also it comes less than 4 centimeters. So stage 1B2 and stage 2A, that means less than 4 centimeters. You can see 1B3 is more than 4 centimeters, but the stage 2A is less than 4 centimeters. So excluding 1B3 till stage 2A1, surgeon has the biggest role. So in this time, the surgeon comes in the picture, and after that, locally advanced stage till stage 4A. That means it is locally extensive disease, locally advanced disease, where the role of medical oncologist and radiation oncologist come. And stage 4B, automatically it's a metastatic, extensive metastatic, only palliative chemotherapy is the option. So treatment, the various factors which decide the treatment: stage of the disease, age of the patient, general condition, problems, tumor configuration, modalities, surgery, radiotherapy, combined chemoradiation. So this is one important slide which you can take it. So right now we follow this. I have put the red block here because this is the domain which I deal with. Before this, you can see this you deal every time. I think in practitioner you know CIN 2, CIN 3, and CIN 1 you only observe the patients. 2, 3 we do all the local therapies including leaf and bone biopsy, cryotherapy. Here your role comes where the surgery followed by adjuvant therapy depends upon the risk factors. So this is the box for you people, and this is the box here your role also will be there, but here we definitely chemoradiotherapy is preferred, and surgery after that if feasible, or residual disease is there. And stage 4 automatically there is a role of chemotherapy and role of medical oncologist. So surgery, curative surgery can be performed in CA cervix till stage 2A1. Surgery preferred in young patients, patients with prolapse, patients with uteri distorted by fibroids, coexisting pelvic pathology. Stage stage 1A, 1 disease I already told, conization, extrafacial hysterectomy. Stage 1A, 2A, excluding 1B, 3, which I already told. You can do Versailles or big hysterectomy. This is the surgical domain which even I don't know much of. I will show you the slide only. But this is extended hysterectomy with pelvic lymphadenectomy. This one, most of the people they forget to do pelvic lymphadenectomy. So this is very important when you target cervical cancer. You have to see the pelvic lymph nodes, which most of the people, most of the patient comes to us after hysterectomy, and there is no evaluation of the pelvic nodes. So then again we have to go back. We have to see. We have to do again second surgery, or then patient has to take the pelvic radiation also. So this is very important. When you do surgery, you have to think about the pelvic lymph nodes. Here there is a role of sentinel lymph node, which is upcoming, and many high volume centers, high-end centers, they do sentinel lymph node mapping also. But in general, overall pelvic lymphadenectomy has to be. So what we do, uterus including cervix, adnexa, ovaries paired in young if the patient wants, family wants, parametrial resection, vaginal cuff removal, resection of the periuretral tissues, pelvic lymphadenectomy. Stage 4A. So as I told, till stage 2A1, there is a role in stage 4A also, but it is an exenteration. Exenteration means complete removal of the uterus, bladder, rectal wall, and complete, so that there is opening in the abdomen like the colostomy bag, and there is a urinary catheter, urinary bag also connecting outside the abdominal wall. So this is the pelvic exenteration, which usually is avoided because of the poor quality of life of the patient post surgery. But if the local disease is very extensive and patient agrees, then we do pelvic exenteration for this patient. So this is your table, which I think even during my medical oncology also I didn't understand many of the things in this. This is more of a surgical part. If the patient wants a complete hysterectomy, or if the fertility is failing, these are the things which removed and kept it. So this is important for you. If the patient present with stage 1A, role in vascular space invasion, then do bone biopsy. Negative margins you observe. Negative margins and operable, do a simple extrafacial hysterectomy. Positive margins, and then you have to repeat biopsy or do modified radical hysterectomy plus pelvic lymphadenectomy if margin is positive. See, you see here in all these guidelines there is a pelvic lymphadenectomy mentioned, because why this is mentioned particularly, because many times we come across that lymph nodes are not dissected or not taken into consideration. If stage 1A with MBSI, automatically the patient has to go for modified radical hysterectomy plus pelvic lymphadenectomy. Consider sentinel lymph node if you feel small subcentimetric lymph nodes are there. So then comes the MBSI positive. This already I told you, and here comes with stage 1A, 1, 2. This is actually a very brief, but with this brief also I told you still stage 1B, 2 and stage 2A. Just consider surgery. So here also you can see the 1B1, 1B2 and 2A. Radical hysterectomy plus pelvic lymphadenectomy. Category 1. Plus minus parametric depending upon the staging and what the scan shows. Stage 1B, 3 and stage 2A. Pelvic EBRT, concurrent platinum based chemotherapy plus brachytherapy. Category 1. You can consider if the patient doesn't want or contraindications for chemotherapy or something like that, you can consider this also for this patient. So after the surgery, what has to be done? Many times as a gynecologist you do the surgery and then you refer to us, so kindly decide for the further management. So this slide will help you to directly give a referral letter to us. Sir, patient needs chemoradiation or patient needs radiation, so that you don't have to divert the patient. You can directly refer according to the guidelines. So if the patient is having negative nodes, negative margins, negative parametrium, you can observe the patient, or pelvic EBRT if this factors, the primary tumor size is more than 4, stromal invasions, LVSI that fits this criteria which I will show you, plus minus concurrent chemotherapy depending upon the risk factors. If positive pelvic nodes are there, margins are positive, then you have to again work out for metastatic setup, because if the margins are positive, patient gets poor prognosis. So automatically the surgery is incomplete or patient is having advanced disease, then you have to stage it, and as per the stage, if metastasis is negative, you can consider for EBRT, that is external beam radiation therapy EBRT, plus concurrent platinum based chemotherapy, plus BRAF. So para-aortic lymph node positive by surgical staging, again you have to do the workup, no metastasis, then you again plan for the same like this, positive, then you have to think about the system. because now the patient will not have any role of local therapy. So why this concurrent chemoradiation came in locally advanced cervical cancer? There are so many trials. I just wanted to, just like ovarian cancer, there are a number of trials which has noted that the concurrent chemoradiation therapy improves the survival in locally advanced cervical cancer than doing surgery. So this automatically same thing. What you have to do, if you find stage this clinically, then you have to do the radiologic imaging. If radiology adenopathy is negative, the pelvic or parietic lobes are negative, you consider for radiation plus concurrent chemotherapy plus brachytherapy. Surgical staging, if you have a doubt, you can do, but that's a category 2 recommendation. So this is the criteria for node negative, margin negative, parametric negative cases. So this is called Sedley's criteria, and the LVFI, stromal invasion and tumor size. This all decides the patient will need adjuvant radiation therapy or not. If any of these are positive, the patient gets adjuvant radiation therapy. And if along this the nodes are positive or any high risk features, the patient takes concurrent chemotherapy. So this is already told, pelvic lymph nodes. If the patient comes to you primarily and found to have pelvic lymph nodes along with the primary cervical cancer, then you have to do just see is on CT, MRI, PET CT. Automatically, if the pelvic or parietic nodes are positive, you have to do the PET CT. Don't go for CTs for multiple area, directly do a PET scan. And then if the pelvic nodes are positive, you see the word here, pelvic EBRD. If the parietic nodes are positive, then it is called extended field radiation therapy, where it involves the parietic nodes also, which are not involved in pelvic. Pelvic means it is only pelvic area, and the pelvic nodes are only targeted in this. So this is all same thing which I told. Now comes the stage 4B. This primary inoperable, locally advanced or distal metastatic disease. Here, if it is amenable to local treatment, we always try, because of to improve the quality of this patient, we do the resection of primary and local RT or local ablative therapy, and the patient goes for chemotherapy also. In stage 4B, distal metastasis, if not amenable to local treatment, automatically systemic therapy or best supportive care. So this is the NCCN 2022 cervical cancer guidelines. I know again this is more of our domain. People always say why these words, bevacizumab, pembrolizumab, why these words come in a picture, but these are like that only. I cannot change it. So the preferred chemoradiation therapy is cisplatin. If the patient is ineligible for cisplatin because of renal dysfunction or obstructive uropathy, or patient is having cardiac comorbidities, post bypass, ejection fraction is low, then we prefer to use carboplatin. This is the first line agent which are used. I will show you later. These are the first line preferred agent. See, one thing is there, many patients come with a stage 4 advanced cervical cancer. So, over. I'll go fast. So these are the, I will not go to the drugs names. So this is the overall treatment plan for you. So early stage 2A2 excluding 1B3 surgery. Then surgery you decide. That is your domain. I don't have to decide. But target pelvic lymph nodes if you feel it is a early stage, not pre-cancer disease. So locally advanced stage, you have to do concurrent chemoradiation therapy. In advanced stage, you have to do chemotherapy plus minus local therapy, maybe pelvic excitation or local targeted therapy. So even after doing all this therapy, all this discussion, all this lecture, still the survival, 5-year survival for stage 1 is 85%, 2 is 55%, 3 is 38%, and 4 is 15%. Still we are helpless. So what? What to do into survival? This depends. See, usually what happens, chemoradiation therapy just like this combination. Everyone likes this combination. So everyone feels locally advanced breast cancer, you use this combination. But there is more to this. Now this is a chemoimmunoradiation therapy combination. This is the latest in the basket, and we prefer now in 2022. I think the guideline will come to add immunotherapy with concurrent chemoradiation therapy in CS cervix. So what is immunotherapy? Immunotherapy, for simple to understand, this is the tumor cells, this is the T cell. Usually whenever the antigen comes, the tumor cell activates the T cells, and T cells try to target the tumor cells. But there are the receptors called PD1 and PDL. This is the ligand, and the tumor cell block this activation of the T cells, and the T cell doesn't act on the tumor cells, and it nullifies the effects of the T cells. Now what immunotherapy does? Immunotherapy blocks this path. Because of this, the T cells get activated and they try to kill the tumor cells. So this is simple logic for immunotherapy. Why we talk about immunotherapy in cervical cancer? Immunosuppression invasion. HPV, E6, E7, cytokines and T cells in the name, increase in interleukin 6, and basically inflammatory factors will be there, like PD-L1 upregulation will be there, and all those things. That's the reason. I will not go into the words because they are more of difficult words. So now this is the ASCO 2020. I think last year this was published, and this shows is a phase randomized study of pembrolizumab. This is the immunotherapy drug which blocks the PD-L1 along with immunization therapy, and I am finishing this. So in high risk locally advanced breast cancer, I think till the final results are yet to come, but they are showing it shows a very excellent response for the local cancer. So pembrolizumab disease, you can see this article is published November 11, 2021. So this is now approved by FDA as the first line immunotherapy agent in cervical cancer. So this is the new drug again, cemiplimab. This is the drug which is immunotherapy drug which is used now, and I am not going into the details of the trial because you people will get bored with that. This is the Kaplan-Meier curve which shows the benefit of using immunotherapy. This is the one more type which you can maybe understanding more than immunotherapy part, because when we do locally advanced breast cancer concurrent chemoradiation therapy, we see the survival still is 50 to 60%. Now what the trial has done, they have started adding after chemoradiation, adding chemotherapy combination for 4 cycles and see whether the survival improves. But this trial was a big trial, but it failed to show any benefit of adding adjuvant chemotherapy after chemoradiation therapy in these patients. So this is the trial details. So now this is the last slide, the future treatment sequencing. Early stage, it's in your hand, you can manage accordingly. In locally advanced, chemoradiation immunotherapy now will be preferred within 1 year time. Metastatic disease, again immunotherapy, chemotherapy plus minus bevacizumab, all monoclonal antibodies. There are new drugs like immunotherapy components and immunotherapy combinations and these clinical trials. In recurrent disease, again now we are trying to replace chemotherapy because of the side effect profile and trying to put immunotherapy combinations there and give the treatment for these patients. Thank you very much.